Right, welcome everybody to this afternoon's Strategic Planning Committee. Right, membership of the committee, as printed. Minutes of the previous meeting, we're all right passing those as a true record. Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest and lobbying. I'll start with Councillor Sokol.
Yeah.
Can you put your mic on, please, Councillor Sokol? Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me. Yeah. I think it's a planning application on page 7 for number 10. Right? Yeah. I think I got an email from Vijector, Steve Noble or something like that. Yeah. That's all. I did not respond anyway.
Councillor Crook.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I've had 2 contacts, one from a local support group run by Steve Noble called Gale, and one from the residents of 9 Woodsome Drive, both on agenda item 10, page 10. Thanks.
Councillor Patterson.
The same emails, otherwise nothing. Thank you.
Councillor Pinnock.
Yes, thanks, Chair. The same from local residents and local members as well.
One email on item 10, not read, no action taken, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Page 7, that's 2022-93154. I also received an email from GAIL and an email forwarded by Kirklees, which may or may not have been the same one. In either case, no action was taken. At page 57, which is 2022-90858, I was approached about 15 to 18 months ago, it's quite some time, by a teacher at the school at Shelley College. And he was expressing concerns about what he saw slow progress of the application. I advised him to work closely with officers, and I did actually inquire of officers if there was any particular hold-up in that, but no further action.
I've just had one on 2022-93154 from Gale. No action taken. Right, item 4, public meeting, best behaviour, all that kind of stuff. Item 5, any questions?
No questions, Chair.
Item 6, any deputations or petitions?
No deputations or petitions.
Right, 2 site visits this morning, one of them at Penistone Road and the other one on Huddersfield Road at Shelley. So we'll move into the applications. First is item 10, and this is the Penistone Road, number 2022-93154. Nick.
Thank you, Chair. Good day, members. My name is Nick Hurst, Case Officer for the application. This application seeks full planning permission for the erection of 68 dwellings with associated works. The site is greenfield land, with trees along each boundary and residential properties immediately to the south. Whitegates Grove is located to the north and northeast, following this rough shape along here. And with Woodsome Drive to the south, and Clough Way to the southeast. Access to the development would be taken from Penistone Road, which runs along the west of the site. The site is allocated in a local plan for housing with an indicative capacity of 68 dwellings. For context, members may recall applications on neighbouring allocations HS2 and HS3, which were considered within the last year, and these are to the south here. The application site also encroaches into the greenbelt. This is to host the site's attenuation tank with no dwellings proposed outside of the housing allocation, and I'll go into further details on this shortly. So this image is taken from the southwest corner of the site. The application site slopes downwards from east to west throughout, with the fall being generally steeper in the south. Again, this image is just shown for further context. It's taken at the rough centre point of the site. The site already has an extant permission for 68 dwellings. The plan on screen currently is from the previous application as shown for context only. For the avoidance of doubt, this plan does not form part of the current application under consideration. The previous application was presented to committee in April 21, where it was approved by members with a decision issued in September 21. This plan is again from the previous application and not part of the current application. To address the site's topographical constraints, substantial retaining walls were required on the eastern boundary and roughly centrally running through the north and south of the site, as shown there and there. This image shows the proposed layout for consideration by members today. Key differences between the approved and proposed developments are as follows. There would be 2 access points, with the first one being in roughly the same place and the second one being further to the south, providing access to units on a cul-de-sac. There would be different house types and sizes, including the introduction of split-level properties with 3 stories facing towards Penistone Road, that being these units along the back there up to this public open space. There would be a reduction in the average height of retaining walls through spreading them out and incorporating the split-level properties. The previous application was not subject to a viability assessment, and therefore the approval secured a full policy-compliant 106 planning obligation package. As detailed in the report, the current application has gone through a financial viability review process. This has demonstrated to the satisfaction of officers and an independent advisor that a full policy-compliant suite of contributions at a reasonable profit level would make the development unviable. This can largely be attributed to abnormal costs associated with addressing the topographical constraints inherent to the site. Following the viability process, officers have secured a reduced contribution offer from the applicant, with officers' suggestion on how this may be spent set out in the report's recommendation. The independent viability assessor is available should members have any technical questions. Through the previously mentioned changes, the average height of the retaining walls has been reduced. This plan shows the approximate same location as the previous sections for information purposes. And these street scenes are to show the typical appearance of the dwelling, and they are a traditional modern Pennine vernacular that is considered acceptable to officers. As mentioned previously, part of the site is within the Greenbelt. The works in the Greenbelt are to facilitate surface water attenuation. This includes an attenuation tank which would be underground. To allow for future adoption of the tank, there needs to be a level access from Penistone Road. The road is proposed as grasscrete, indicatively shown on the side of this image, so that is what grasscrete typically looks like. There would be existing woodlands to the north and east of the ramp, just off image there. As a result, officers expect that the ramp would blend well into the environment. While many developments in the Greenbelt are restricted, there are exemptions. These include engineering operations, which officers are satisfied. Works are engineering operations, which officers are satisfied would neither prejudice the openness of the Greenbelt nor conflict with the purpose of including land within it. Therefore, in accordance with the National Planning Policy Framework, the works are concluded to be appropriate within the Greenbelt. Through you, Chair, I will now invite Chris Dowes from Highways to provide comments on the application.
Thank you, Nick. Good afternoon, members. As mentioned, the site is accessed from Penistone Road via 2 points of access. These take the form of priority junctions with right turn lane. The northern access will serve 61 dwellings, with the southern access serving the remaining 7 dwellings. The access has been assessed from a capacity perspective and operates well within capacity, and the design of the access has been subject to a road safety audit and designer's response, which has raised no significant issues. The internal layout comprises of a series of traditional estate roads with footpaths to both sides, shared space roads and culminating private drives. The layout of both sections of the layout is a cul-de-sac formation incorporated service vehicle turning. The layout has been designed in accordance with Kirklees Highway Design Guide and is suitable for adoption. The proposal includes, externally, as well as the accesses include traffic islands to protect the right turning vehicles and assess pedestrians crossing Penistone Road. In addition to these works, the proposal include widening of the footway along the site frontage to 2 metres and resurfacing of the section of Penistone Road in front of the site frontage. In addition to this, real-time information will be provided at the most appropriate bus stop, which is to the southwest. And which is the most suitable for pedestrians accessing the access. So in conclusion, access parking and servicing arrangements are considered to be acceptable. It's considered that traffic generated by the development can be accompanied in the highway network with no material adverse impact or safety on the local highway network. And from a highways perspective, the access and internal arrangements are considered acceptable. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Chris. The report before members outlines officers' full assessment of the proposal. In terms of principle, the proposal seeks the residential development of a housing allocation that has an extant approval for housing. The number of units proposed accords with the local plan's expectation and matches the previous approval on the site. Therefore, the proposal is considered to represent an effective and efficient use of a housing allocation. The proposed works in the Greenbelt are considered to be engineering operations that would neither harm the openness of the Greenbelt nor conflict with the purpose of the Greenbelt. Therefore, the proposed works in the Greenbelt are considered appropriate as per the National Planning Policy Framework, and the principle of development is deemed acceptable. Regarding the design, the layout and appearance of the units are considered attractive and would secure a high standard of amenity for future occupiers without harming the amenity of neighbouring residents. While retaining walls will still be necessary at the site, the amendments have reduced the overall reliance upon them. The proposal has a lesser reliance on them than the previous one as opposed to amendments through the application. Officers have worked with neighbours on the southern boundary to mitigate the potential impacts upon them. The proposal now considered acceptable to officers, although the residents remain concerned as detailed within the update to members. The proposal will not prejudice the safe and efficient operation of the highway as detailed by Chris just then, and due regard has been given to other material planning considerations including drainage and ecology and found to be acceptable. While viability has been proven to be an issue for the site, officers are of the opinion that a fair and reasonable suite of contributions have been agreed. 24 representations to the initial representation period are considered and addressed within the report, with a further 3 representations and comments from local ward councillor Munro are detailed and addressed in the update. Officers therefore recommend approval of the application, subject to securing of the Section 106 agreement and conditions as set out within the recommendation, and the additional condition regarding charging points as per the update. Thank you, Chair.
Right, 4 speakers. First speaker is Councillor Davis, who's got 5 minutes. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just want to take a couple of moments on this application and go over some general concerns that it raises with me. My concerns around this application are to do with the levels and amounts of creep or slippage, for want of a better word, and some of the uncertainties they bring to the application. Firstly, the creepage in the amount of affordable houses. I know this application stands on its own merits, but in the original proposals, this was meant to be 100% affordable. In the existing application, that has slipped down to 13 affordable dwellings, which was approved. In this application, that has now slipped down to 7, with the new developer citing profit erosion as a reason for reducing the number. Profit erosion that still leaves a margin of 17.5%. Another issue I have with the application is the creep into developing more greenbelt land. This is due to the water attenuation tank being relocated to a field across Penistone Road, more greenbelt being absorbed, being built over, being lost. Not only that, but the developer is citing the expense of the tank construction and the difficulty of that construction for the reason for moving it from the main development site. Around £500,000 is stated for that installation. It's not clear how much more this is than the original siting. I think that should be made clear and understood first and foremost. Also, it's not clear the developer already owns the land where this tank is going to be built. Assume it's not the case, or it would have been stated. Therefore, how much more additional cost will that be added on to the purchase of, added on for the purchase of the land? Again, eroding the development profit, impacting the viability, and impacting everything so far. And also the current S106 monies. And talking about those monies, in the application, there's not enough public open space included in the development. And I know there is 61,000 and some pounds allocated for that money for alternative provision in the borough, but will that be in Almondbury? That's unclear to me, and that needs to be ascertained. Otherwise, that's more erosion of Almondbury's green space, more erosion of Almondbury's public open space. and it's just loss of green space in our ward. There are a lot more detailed points already been made and objections raised in this application process, which I've not covered, but I can see have been addressed in the report, and some of those are to the good. My issue at the current time, there's too much uncertainty that needs to be addressed and answered before the approval, especially in light that there's another viability to be recommended to be carried out within 3 months. This could lead to further pressure on the viability, on the profit, on the S106 monies, or change where it's spent, reducing completely the affordable housing number or absorbing even more green belt. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got it. Okay, this is a third go at this particular allocation. The previous two were not seen as viable. So what was the problem? First problem, topography of the land. It's a steeper slope. Second problem is drainage. And third is the amount of Section 106 payments and the provision of affordable housing. As well as that, I want to highlight the problem that residents have asked me to point out the problems of Penistone Road, turning right onto Penistone Road. There's been many accidents on Penistone Road, admittedly not serious enough for the highways to take action, because there's been no one's died and no serious injury. So we can have as many accidents as we want, as long as no one dies. So residents say the problem is our right turns could be alleviated, and in other building allocations along Penistone Road, there is provision for a roundabout, and so they would ask, if you are coming out of this allocation, if you're minded to accept it, that they ban a right turn out of here, and say in future when this roundabout is built, you should, all traffic should turn left and use the roundabout further on the road. Okay. We know this area was taken out of the Greenbelt in 2019 with the ratification of the local plan. Although personally not voting for it, we have to accept that planning for houses is based around it. Having gone through these free consultations and now free plan applications, the balance of probability is that this should be the last application, hopefully. The land you've had a visit today, the land you've seen is sloping, making building difficult. Could this not have been foreseen when considering the local plan all those years ago? Fennybeck, which is in the same valley as this allocation, Fennybeck has flooding issues. Could it not have been foreseen that drainage problems would be caused by building in such an area? As there is more building to come, the accumulation of drainage problems is becoming clear. The way this developer has solved their problem is by intruding into the greenbelt to build an attenuation tank, or he's proposed an attenuation tank. The committee will have to decide if this is an acceptable solution. Affordable housing has been a mixed problem on this site. Originally, 68 houses were supposed to be affordable housing. And I think when they realised it couldn't be done, they moved it down to 13, and a separate developer. So the provision was for 13 houses. And now they realise that can't be done. We're now down to 7. Not enough profit is a problem, owing to building problems, as we can see. Can we ask that any money to compensate for building like green space stays in Lepton and Fennybridge? I think my fellow ward councillor Councillor Davis has made this point. I'd like to, reiterate the provision. Any provisions should stay in Lepton. It's difficult to speak about this application without a certain sadness that rural land will go for housing. The land is designation for housing, for building in the local plan, and there is less than 5 years building land available according to the Kirklees planning officers. A double whammy that is hard to resist. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Alison Munro, who's got 3 minutes.
Do I press that?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm speaking as a resident, so I'd like to say the following. I did make a submission as a councillor, which has not been published.
Can you put your mic on, please? Sorry.
I think it's... Can I
it.
start again, please? Okay. I did make a submission which has not been published under the application on the council website, and all the points I raised were not addressed in the report before the committee today. Right, first of all, the attenuation tank. Away from the main site on the opposite side of the road in Greenbelt. This will again contribute towards a loss of further green space and Greenbelt land. The track and associated works will impact the openness of the Greenbelt. Very special circumstances must be demonstrated to enable approval of developments in Greenbelt land. In this case, the applicants have a separate planning application to this one, citing the tank on the main site. We do not know the costs involved of siting it there, and it would be helpful to know that so we can understand if this application is reasonable. If the applicants have an alternative plan to site the tank on the main site, this suggests that those very special circumstances to developing Greenbelt have not been met because it can be sited elsewhere. Gale have also cited case law where a track, drainage and other structure were refused due to a clear effect on the openness of Greenbelt. Viability. The applicants have proceeded down the viability route in this case, citing abnormal costs in building the attenuation tank on the opposite side of the road, in addition to abnormal costs incurred in widening the road and other things. And although prior approval was given for this, I feel it's important to highlight just how dangerous this stretch of road is. It is not called the Mad Mile lightly, and refer you to the recent high-speed car chase which ended in a terrible crash in Fenny Bridge. In addition, I question whether access and egress from the field opposite where the attenuation tank will be sited, if this goes ahead today, will that be safe? It's just prior to a bend. The entrance is just prior to a bend. On the issue of viability and affordable homes, I would like to draw your attention to say initially 68 affordable homes were to be built on this site. Cabinet did not adopt the charging schedule, which meant developers could build private homes instead, along with the statutory number of affordable homes, in this case 14, which is now reduced to 7. The local plan, though, provides for 49 affordable homes to be built in South Kirklees year on year. I doubt very much this has actually happened, so more than ever before, affordable houses are needed. And the viability process should not be exploited, and it should not be used as a bargaining tool at the expense of local residents, wildlife, the well-being of residents, loss of public open space and green space, which will be even greater if this application goes ahead today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Commissioner Mystery.
Thank you, Chair, and for the opportunity to address the members of Planning Committee. My name is Krishna Mystery, Head of Planning at Newitt Homes, the applicants. We're pleased to see this application for 68 new homes in Fenny Bridge recommended for approval, subject to planning conditions and Section 106 agreement. We also like to thank officers for a balanced report and presentation. The site, as you've heard, is allocated within the local plan for residential development, and as you've also heard, an extant permission remains on the site, reinforcing the site's suitability for development in this sustainable location. Despite this, the site hasn't come forward since the approval in 2021. Newitt Homes now control the site and have worked with your officers over the last 12 months to address all consultee and neighbour comments. And with suitable mitigations, we've reached a position where the site can be developed without any adverse impacts. Following extensive due diligence of the previous permission and the site, it was evident the scheme, as approved, could not be delivered viably. With rising costs and difficult market conditions, our application is supported with a viability appraisal. This has been independently assessed, and we have agreed a suitable package of Section 106 contributions, including the delivery of affordable housing, contributions towards education, public open space, sustainable travel, bus stop improvements, and a commitment to deliver 10% biodiversity net gain. Whilst the proposed number of dwellings has not changed, all properties now meet or exceed National Design Space Standards, which is a significant improvement to the previously approved scheme. In addition, the proposals include a total of 12 different house types, delivering a distinguished development and attractive opportunity within the housing market. The report sets out how the site has been designed to respect amenity levels for both existing and future residents. Following the successful completion of our site at Station Road, Skelmanthorpe, and the approval at Murfield, we are looking forward to continuing our investments in Kirklees with the delivery of achievable and viable sites, and most importantly, contribute to the delivery of much-needed housing numbers. Furthermore, the development of the site will generate additional council tax and new homes bonus revenues and provide employment opportunities. Newitt Homes are award-winning Yorkshire house builder, striving to become a leading house builder within the industry. Our site managers were recently awarded for the prestigious NHBC Pride in the Ward Jobs 2023 for their exceptional dedication to quality and expertise. We hope members of the Planning Committee will support the Officer's recommendation and approve this allocated site for Newitt Homes to deliver this high-quality development. Thank you.
Right, members, it's over to you. Councillor Armour.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Before we start, I'd just like a little bit of clarification. Excuse me. On page 19 at paragraph 710, we're told the site falls within Lepton Parish Council and no comments were received. I wonder if the officer could just clarify what area is covered by Lepton Parish Council.
Apologies, that will be an error then. Yes, it's Kirkburton Parish Council.
It is indeed, thank you.
Apologies.
Right, Mr Chair, Chairman. It's an unpopular application, I think we're all aware of that. I'm not happy with many aspects of it. I'm particularly disappointed, shall we say, with the reduction in affordable housing. I don't think it's reasonable that a developer takes on a site, knowing there's an expectation of X number of affordable houses, and then decides this site they have taken on, presumably done due diligence before they took it on, and say, oh no, we can't afford that now, let's have 7 instead. I don't like that. I see that as something of a misuse of the planning system. But there we go. Penistone Road is bad, we all know that. But that being said, I personally struggle to support this application, but frankly, I find it difficult to find material planning considerations to object to it. It's, I think, very sad. I don't like the application, but I think to some extent we are stuck with it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I listened to the officer, and I know when the last time this application was approved in 2020, I was on the committee, and it's 3 years gone, nothing happened there. We need houses. Kirklees need, people need houses. Government making noise, why we don't build more houses, yeah? Now we got the site there to build some houses there. If we don't approve this application today, it might be another 3 years to wait What a waste of time. Chair, I think we got, officer made a very good negotiation with the developer. The site is in local plan, we have to accept it. Whoever opposes it, I know the some council might don't like it. We got a good mixture of houses where is a 2-bedroom, which is 10, 3-bedroom, 43 houses, and I understand the affordable houses have been reduced from 14 to 7. But again, if you look on the mixture of houses, 2-bedroom, 10 houses, yeah, it will be very cheaper to buy it for the first time buyers, yeah. There are contributions to improve the footpath as well. It will be widened pedestrian footpath. He says that there will be a big improvement on the junction with Pennystone and Raleigh Lane. That's accept. I know the area very well. It will improve there was a problem turning left, right, or whatever. Yeah, they were long. So I think he will solve the. And another thing, every house I can see, even 2-bedroom, they got a 2 parking spaces in front of the houses, and 4-bedroom and 3-bedroom, they got 2 or 3 car parking spaces. There will be no parking on site. So I'm coming back again, Mr. Chairman. If we don't approve this application, we have to, the residents have to wait another 3 years. Yeah, to come back. So we have to accept the viability report, and I'm happy to approve this, move this application to officer recommendation.
Thanks, Chair. I share some of the concerns about the loss of affordable housing, but I understand that the viability review has led to the position that we're at, and that this is mitigated by the possibility of clawing back any excess profit through condition in the future. So I'm happy with that position insofar as it goes. I'm also really pleased to see that the developer has committed to an enhanced fabric specification exceeding the current building control regulations, but would be nice, and also including solar panels on all of the buildings. But it would be nice to see some figures on that rather than just a qualitative statement. I'm also really pleased to see that officers are minded to condition cycle storage in all the houses to encourage modal shift. And in that same vein, can I just clarify with officers that the steps to the south of the site, I think it's to the south of the site, which would facilitate access to the nearest bus stop, are a condition and would be mandated in this should it go forward. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I can see, I think it's very obvious that this is an improved application on the one that we approved last year or the year before now. I think the layout is better. I think the frontage, the use of the frontage is better, albeit that it means that we lose the dry stone wall that there is currently. I think the improved footpaths and it's better. And I think the attenuation plant across the road being buried, well buried, is an improvement and should really make sure that there is no flooding problems on the site. So, I think we can see from all the different improvements that have been made that obviously a lot more thought has gone into this application, and that the earlier application was perhaps hurriedly put together, and that the new developers have have listened to the concerns that people have raised and have tried to ameliorate those where possible. So, as I say, it's a far better application. My only one concern, again, as Councillor Crook has said, is the access. Whilst there is vehicle access for the 7 houses or 7 houses that are at the northern corner, it is going to be really important that that staircase is built. If it isn't built, I'm sure residents will find some way of climbing over the wall and getting down there anyway, because it's going to be such a temptation not to go all the way down to the other end of the site, to go onto Penistone Road, to get up Rowley Lane to go to the school and up to Lepton itself, if you're a foot passenger, or if you want to get to the bus stop as well. So I do really hope that staircase, and we've heard why it can't, there isn't room for it to be a slope, which would be better, even still. But a staircase is, and maintained staircase as well, is really important. So with those comments, I'm happy to second the recommendation of the officers as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. One of the problems with this site is that, well, I say a problem, is that a permission has already been granted on this site, albeit that there were 1 or 2 things that that didn't quite add up in it. And of course, because it's an allocated site, the presumption will be that development of some kind will take place on the site. We can't get away from that, but before we run away with the idea that just because we have an allocated site that has got a previous permission, therefore we should just say, fine, get on with it. We have to look at this and make sure that all the things in relation to the site actually add up. And I'd like to highlight 1 or 2 of those. I discussed the point on the bus about the biodiversity net gain, and I'm still not satisfied that we can't get the biodiversity net gain to somewhere near the site. Assuming we can't get any of it on the site, I do think we need some figures as to what might be possible on the site and what might be possible on the, well, initially the site immediately opposite on the other side of Penistone Road, for example, where there are quite a lot of trees and some net gain could surely be engineered out of that. Sorry, I'm not using the word engineered in the sense of huge earthworks, but anyway, so that's one point. I would be a bit upset if any biodiversity net gain as a result of this site was miles and miles away. I thought the idea of biodiversity net gain was to make up for the fact that a site is having hard landscape put upon it, and we need to actually improve the amount of biodiversity as a result of that development, whether on the site or adjacent to it. Councillor Crook has already mentioned the stairs. I would endorse that, because I think that access to the bus stops on either side of the road is really quite important. This site is not in a village really, either Lepton or Almondbury. It's outside, and the importance, to my mind, of good access to bus services is really very important. And then this brings me to the question of the state of Penistone Road. This is a little bit difficult because I think that given the fact that there are two accesses to this site, to and from the site, and also an access that will be used from time to time to where the attenuation tank is, the speed limit should be reduced. Now, there isn't an accident record on this road. That's because we, for fairly obvious reasons, use injury accidents as the metric for this. But there are enough stories about things that have happened on that road to make me think that this somehow, not necessarily as part of the planning application, that this should be brought into being. I'll just leave that to stand, but I think it's one of the issues that do make this site somewhat less attractive. And finally, looking at the list of conditions, I'd just like to check that there is, within those conditions, the means of involving local residents in the activities on the site. I can't see where it would be at the moment. I looked at the conditions and I thought condition 15 was the one that I should be looking at, but other applications have actually mentioned the developers involving local residents when they start their activities on the site, because I think this is a way of ensuring that the local residents know what's going on and what's likely to happen. So I don't think this is the finished article, to be honest. So thank you, Chair.
Yep, thank you through you, Chair. So thank you, councillors, for your comments. In terms of the ecology, so 7.8 habitat units would be secured on the site. That would represent a 45% net loss over the existing value of the site, and the target is to get a 10% increase, so 55% habitat units are needed to be secured somewhere. In terms of additional provision on site, the council's ecologists have worked with their ecologists to maximise the amount of space they have, and ultimately it's quite difficult to get 10% on a site when you are going from a field to gardens and roads. In terms of, so the hierarchy is preference on site. If you can't do that, you look in the area. Ultimately, they need a few criteria there, such as they need to own the land, which they don't necessarily own the land opposite. And also, you can't necessarily take from an agricultural field and improve a woodland. The Deframetric does have quite strict trading rules, so you've got to improve like for like, broadly speaking. So in this case, we did explore whether there was any off-site options and concluded at this time, no, there wasn't. So that's why the financial contribution was secured. That would go to the council's ecology group, who are currently, given Net Gain's relative new status, exploring the guidance and approach of how that money will be spent in ward or in the district. What I would say though is that the 106 will be written in such a way that it is either you will pay us the amount, or you will deliver it near or on site, or do a mixture of the both. So the 106 is always written to give them the option to deliver it on site or nearby if that option comes up later, because ultimately that is the preference, yes, but we do have that fallback position. If they can't do that, it will be paid. In terms of residential involvement, yes, that would be condition 15. There is a standard condition used by the planning department for a construction environmental management plan, and that will include a clause for community engagement, involvement and contact details. In terms of highways, I will pass over to Chris just to comment on that.
Yeah, thanks. I think the couple of points that councillors brought up were obviously the steps, which I think we mentioned would be conditioned. I think it is important that we get those steps, because that will be the pedestrian desire line down to that southwest corner to get to the nearest bus stop. I think it's important that we get that, and I think there is a condition to get the design of those submitted. The point Councillor Pinnock made about speed and the points of access, I think as we've said, there isn't an accident problem there. There have been 2 slight accidents in the vicinity, not actually on the frontage where this site is, but in the vicinity. I think in some respects, so there wasn't a requirement or a justification to ask for the speed to be reduced to 30 miles an hour. I think in some respects, the fact that we're actually introducing accesses and central lines for crossing gives the impression to motorists of a more enclosed environment, and actually may by default actually have the effect of reducing speed slightly in the vicinity of the site, because if you're driving, if you start seeing accesses, you tend to drive slower than an open piece of road with no accesses on. It's a clear road and you tend to drive faster. And I can see you don't buy that, but you know, you drive to the conditions of the road, and if it's an open clear road with no accesses, you would tend to drive faster than one that introduces accesses, because you'd be looking for somebody turning potentially.
And I will just step in there and say, in regards to the stairs, yes, condition 20 is intended for them to be provided. In terms of the management maintenance, that can be included in the condition as well, and we will likely include that in the 106 agreement, either as part of the highway or part of the public open space. We'll have to determine which is the most appropriate for it. Thank you, Chair.
Biodiversity.
Through you, Chair. I can step in on the attenuation tank. It is detailed in the report, but yes, it was originally proposed in the north of the site. When the applicant came to do a more technical design for that, it was discovered due to the topography issues of the land, tanks have to be at the lowest point and below ground due to the trees at the low top point, which are protected by TPOs. Ultimately, it couldn't realistically be put there without substantial expense. I think it was a 7-metre dig, so if you have a manhole and then have to go down 7 metres, it just simply wasn't appropriate for that location. In terms of it being in the green belt, as we've said, it is an engineering operation. The impact on openness is ultimately for the decision maker to determine, but we have put forward a case in the officer report that we don't think it does impact on openness, and ultimately, yeah, that's for the committee to determine. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Halving of the affordable homes. Anyway, it has been moved and it has been seconded. It's been moved by Councillor Sokol, seconded by Councillor Pattison, so that's what we've got on the table, so we'll go to a vote.
So you're voting on the officer recommendation to approve, subject to the conditions in the report, the additional one in the update about the EVC points, and it's also been mentioned that maintenance will be included into condition 20 or the section 106 agreement as appropriate in respect of the stairs. Councillor Sokol.
For.
Councillor Crook.
For.
Councillor Pattison.
For.
Councillor Pinnock.
Abstain.
Councillor Thompson.
For.
Councillor Armour.
Abstain.
Councillor Hall.
For.
That's carried, Chair. 1, 2, 3, 5 votes. 4, 2 abstentions.
Thank you. Next item, page 57. This is the all-weather field along with floodlights at Shelley College. And it's Louise.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Louise Bearcroft and I'm the case officer for this planning application. The application is for a 3D artificial grass pitch at Shelley College and is referred to committee due to the site area. Members visited the site this morning. The site comprises of a school playing field with an existing games area. This incorporates 3 cricket nets and a long jump. The remainder of the site comprises grassland and the 2 are separated by a soil bund. 2 rows of trees run parallel to the existing pitch. Permission is sought to remove the existing games area and install a new 3G pitch. The existing pitch measures as 70 by 70 metres and the proposed pitch 66 by 106 metres, and so would incorporate the adjacent grassland. The requirement is to improve the existing facilities and increase the variety of sports that can be played, and it would also be made available for community use. The pitch would be enclosed by 4.5 metre high perimeter fencing and a spectator zone is proposed with a hard standing to be secured by 1.2 metre high fencing. To achieve the required size and performance specification, the site will be excavated and platformed. The pitch would be lit by 6 15 metre high flood lighting columns which will support LED lighting fixtures. Officers accept the principle of development given that whilst the proposal will result in the loss of existing sports provision and playing fields, it will meet the exceptions criteria in policy LP61 of the local plan and the MPPF by securing replacement sports facilities of a better size and quality to address identified deficiencies and as such outweighs the loss. The Kirklees playing pitch strategy identifies a shortfall of grass pitch capacity across a range of pitch sports and as a result recommends the provision of a network of floodlit pitches to meet these shortfalls. Sport England considers there's little loss of playing pitch provision associated with the location of the new pitch. They note this is a type of very early all-weather surface which is now considered outmoded and unsatisfactory by most sports, while the grassed area, although technically playing field, does not appear to have accommodated playing pitches. They conclude the pitch will be of significant benefit to sport and subject to a condition to secure a community use agreement, it meets their exceptions policy. In respect of residential amenity, the nearest noise-sensitive receivers are houses on Shelley Woodhouse Lane and Stead Gate. The distance to the proposed new pitch would be around 75 metres. Pollution and Noise Control have assessed the noise impact assessment and concludes that the noise levels would have a low impact and would be acceptable for internal and external amenity areas. This is, however, modelled on the side of the full pitch, whilst the submitted plan shows the number of pitches marked up. Therefore, to ensure that the impact of using the smaller pitches is considered, a condition is required to secure an addendum noise report. This is based on the sideline halfway marking of the small pitch, closer to the properties. Conditions are also recommended for ball sound mitigation and a noise management plan to help in controlling people noise from the users and the spectators and to provide confidence in the management of the site. And environmental services satisfied these matters can be addressed via condition. In respect of the hours of use, the applicant proposes the hours of Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m, and weekends, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Pollution and Noise Control have concerns about the proposed late use, coupled with the use of artificial lighting, and they recommend a condition to restrict these hours, Monday, Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m, and weekends and bank holidays, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The restriction in hours will prevent harmful noise, pollution and social hours through voices, whistles and ball strikes. Environmental Services satisfied the flood lighting installation meets necessary requirements and will not lead to any loss of amenity to residential properties. Conditions are required on methods of switching and controlling the lighting, so it's only operated at the permitted times and to tie in with the hours of use. And this would also include 15 minutes pre and post the permitted hours of use. Access is proposed via the existing one-way entrance and exit route of Huddersfield Road. This would be both on completion and during the period of construction. Highways Development Management raised no objections, subject to a condition to secure a schedule of the means of access to the site for construction traffic. As detailed in the update, an acceptable drainage scheme has been submitted, which follows a hierarchy of sustainable drainage, and the lead local flood authority is satisfied with the details, subject to a condition to secure a maintenance strategy. In respect of ecology, an ecological appraisal and arboriculture report have been submitted. The ecological report identified a requirement for bat surveys and great crested newt surveys, which have been subsequently carried out by the applicant. These surveys conclude that a proposal is expected to have little impact on commuting and foraging bats in the area and are unlikely to impact upon great crested newts, subject to adherence to reasonable avoidance measures. In respect of trees, the arboriculture report confirms some minor pruning of the canopies grown towards the proposal on the northern side is required to create adequate clearance to the perimeter fencing. However, only small outer branches need to be removed and the impact is minimal. No building foundations are proposed within the root protection area of any retained tree, and whilst there is some impact on root protection areas in respect to the foundations required for the fence posts around the goal recess areas, by using appropriate methods, this would not result in any long-term health impacts to the trees. No design restrictions are necessary, and an arboricultural method statement will be secured by condition. The matter of biodiversity net gain is reported in the update. The proposals would secure a 10% net gain in habitat units by enhancing 2 hectares of modified grassland from moderate to good condition and 0.1 hectare of modified grassland to woodland. The planting of 53 metres of native species hedgerow will result in 24.6% net gain in hedgerow units, and the council's ecologist is satisfied with the details. It's not clear if the enhancements to the grassland would have an impact on playing field provision. Therefore, whilst the proposals are acceptable in respect of achieving a 10% net gain, it is necessary to impose a condition to secure a biodiversity enhancement and management plan. This will facilitate a scheme to achieve the net gain targets without loss of any playing field provision. And subject to this, the recommendation is revised to delegate that to officers to impose just the conditions listed, including the additional condition to secure the biodiversity enhancement and management plan. Thank you, Chair.
So, members, it's over to you, Councillor Crook.
Thanks very much, Chair, and thanks for the presentation. I understand the concern about noise disturbance to residents, but having visited the site this morning, it seems that the nearest residential properties are quite some distance from the site, and I think that this risk has to be measured against the use by the community of the site, and it seems to me that the proposed restricted hours would disproportionately limit the amount of use that the community get from the asset. I think it's also worth noting that a similar development of a 3G pitch in my ward recently had planning permission with more extensive hours, even though it was much more closely neighboured by residential property. So I think that benefit for the community to promote health and cohesive community is much more important in this case. So I would like to propose that we go with the applicant's original proposed opening hours, Monday to Saturday, and possibly impose restrictions on bank holidays and Sunday as per the recommendation. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I approve of this application. I think actually the existing red, whatever they call it, surfaced pitch looks an eyesore, and this will look a lot better. So that's an improvement. I am particularly struck by the community use of the facilities. I was at paragraph 3.5 on page 59 and at condition 3, or proposed condition 3. I would like to see whatever permission is secured to be as permissive as possible. I would like to see the maximum amount of community use of this facility. So I do hope that officers will bear that in mind. Councillor Crook makes an interesting point about hours of use, and I tend to agree with him. I don't think we need to restrict it quite as much as the application is, as the suggestion is. So I'm happy to second Councillor Crook's proposal, including his amendment to operating hours.
Thanks, Chair, yes.
Thank you. I don't think I need to say much more than I agree that with the development itself, but also that the hours shouldn't be so restrictive. I mean, having been up there this morning, I don't think I've ever seen a school playing field further away from any house or any building or any road ever. I mean, I think most schools or most playing fields not attached to schools are much more close to residential buildings than this one. There's also lots of other playing fields around it at the moment, the existing ones, which are much closer to the one house that is there. And I'm sure those will still be in use. As Councillor Almer says, to make sure that the community get to use this pitch as much as possible. And if you're going to get 2 football matches or a tournament of football matches on a day or an evening after school or whatever it might be, you're going to need those hours. It probably won't go on till 10 o'clock, but certainly 4 o'clock or 8 o'clock probably does restrict that community use. So I would like to see that those hours of use return to the ones that the applicant asked for in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. One of the points was on the hours, especially in summer. See no reason to restrict hours of use during the summer when it's light until 10:30, and then we're closing a facility down like this. So the hours definitely I would agree with. And I just had one question, which was 10.18. The drainage report has been submitted by the applicant. In this document, it confirms that soakaway results have shown that soils to be relatively permeable. I've got probably quite an ignorant question because I've not. Does that mean that it isn't going to soak into the ground? Does that mean it's got to be on the surface? So therefore, does that mean it's got to be a problem?
Through you, Chair. So they've tested the ground and they found that it wouldn't soak away. So that means that they were going to have to connect it to either a watercourse or an existing drainage or an improved drainage system. So in this case, they can't connect to a watercourse because the closest one is on private land. It's not available or accessible for use. So they are having to connect into an existing system, but they will be improving the drainage by the nature of having, when they build up the pitch, it will accommodate some of that, and then it will go to an existing system with a silt trap in. Thank you, Chair.
So that leads me on to more of a question on this then. I've got 2 boys who've all gone through football academies and things like that. They've all played on all-weather pitches, and in winter, more often than not, the drainage hasn't been adequate. So what they've done is they've built it on what they think the minimum specification is required to do the soakaway, and it's never, in my experience, worked. I would like to see that the drainage is of a standard which has got some redundancy built into it rather than what they think that it's going to be. Would there be any way of being able to do that, Chair?
Thank you, Chair. I was going to say, what we've done as part of one of the recommended conditions is about the full drainage strategy. So that's something that we'll be able to look into as part of that drainage strategy. So we have recommended that under the condition 15, so that we're comfortable with the scheme. I don't know, Louise, is there anything to add on that?
Yes, I mean, the lead local food authority have now seen the details. So when the report was completed, they hadn't confirmed that they were satisfied with those. So since we did the update, they have confirmed that they're satisfied with the whole scheme, including the silt trap, and they've seen that now. So in the update, actually, there is the condition now revised to reflect just the need for a maintenance strategy of that approved system. So we've got a little bit further than the main report where the lead local authority are satisfied that that scheme is adequate to serve the new pitch. Thank you, Chair.
Andrew.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I, like the others who've spoken, certainly agree with the maintenance of the opening hours because as Councillor Patterson said, it's a long way from any dwellings to annoy, and it will have considerable community benefit. I'd also like to inquire, and I'm doing a bit of special pleading here. I used to play hockey, and I do think that there isn't necessarily good provision for that game. I noticed this pitch is not lined out for a hockey pitch. I just wonder whether they might consider doing this because after all we did win the gold medal at the Olympics a few years ago. Thank you, Chair.
Madden's playing hockey. Need to play rugby. Be safe. Well, it was something that me and Chris were talking about this morning. Rugby on these 3G and 4G pitches. There were, up until a few years ago, quite a lot of bad injuries and friction burns on them. Funny, because this morning when we were up there, school bell went twice. And I thought, bloody hellfire, what's that? You know, so to say that it were pretty loud is an understatement. I think it's a great idea, this, and I agree with ours. I mean, it's a bit different than what I thought about this morning, but yeah, the more use gets out of this, the better. So it has been moved by...
Julie, did you want to...
Julie?
Overturn. Thank you, Chair. So just to sort of clarify in terms of the hours of use, what's been sort of proposed by members. So my understanding, so I'm looking at paragraph 10.12 now on page 64 of the agenda. So as part of that, the applicant proposed the hours of Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock until 10 o'clock. And then on weekends, 8 o'clock until 9 o'clock. Environmental Services, they raised concerns about that, and they recommended the Monday till Friday, 8 o'clock until 8 o'clock, and Wednesdays and bank holidays, 8 o'clock until 4 o'clock. Is my understanding correct in that what members are recommending are the applicant's proposed hours Monday to Friday of the 8 o'clock until 10 o'clock, but then for the weekends and bank holidays, are you recommending that which Environmental Services have suggested of the 8 o'clock until 4 o'clock? And no? So do you want to just clarify in terms of the hours first of all, and then what I'd recommend to chairs, we'll just bring in our environmental health colleagues just to sort of ask us to put their comments forward a bit further, and then you can move to your vote. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Councillor Cook, to clarify the hours he was asking for.
Yeah.
Microphone, Steve, yours is on. Thank you, Chair. So what I'd proposed was that we went with the applicant's proposed hours Monday to Saturday, so allow them longer hours on Saturday as well, and then agree with the environmental restrictions on Sundays and bank holidays. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I'll second it. That was my understanding as well.
Just before we go to the vote, now we've got the hours clarified, I would suggest that the reason for that change is that there are community benefits in terms of greater access to the facilities, health benefits, cohesion, of community cohesion, plus the greater distance that you've all recognised are sufficient to override the technical advice from environmental health.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. In defence of environmental health, we tend to we tend to err on the side of caution. Yeah, we take on board the comments that have been made regards to the hours of use. One of the reasons we kind of looked at restricting the hours of use was just basically on the slide that's on the screen at the moment. If it's then subdivided, it then becomes closer to residential, and that's why we asked for a further noise report, just to clarify that point. But yes, we do understand the community aspect of it. Just to be clear then, it's been recommended Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. until 10 p.m, and then Sundays and bank holidays, 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. Is that correct? Yep, okay, thank you.
So you're voting on the officer recommendation to approve, subject to the conditions in the report, a revision to condition 15 in relation to drainage management, an additional condition in relation to the biodiversity enhancement and management plan, and the hours to be amended as just stated. Councillor Sokol?
For.
Councillor Crook?
For.
Councillor Pattison?
For.
Councillor Pinnock?
For.
Councillor Thompson?
For.
Councillor Armour?
For.
Councillor Hall?
For.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Right. Thanks, everybody.